it so we can test.
Test it.
Yeah.
Test, test. Test,
Oh, they're not gonna be up here today?
test. Test.
All right. Are they gonna be up here today or no?
Policy committee. Policy committee.
Wait. Are they gonna be up here or no?
No, they're gonna be down here.
All right. Let me see your feedback.
Hey, Deborah, they didn't take all the decorations down.
They had some in here the other day? Because they had that little portal like, what you call it?
I just go stick them on my car.
Test, test.
Pick them up tomorrow, okay?
Excellent. Do, 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 do. I don't understand how people's voices don't reach it and they like put their mouth in it. Like, when I'm over here talking, they'll still pick me up.
Is that it, Deborah?
I don't know yet. Board budget work session. I'd like to welcome everyone who is with us either virtually or here in person. And with that, I will turn it over to Superintendent Williams.
Thank you, Chair Nixon, and I'd like to say good evening to everyone, good evening to our board members, and good evening to our district staff and our audience, and those who are with us today. Thank you all for being with us. As we begin this evening's budget work session, board members, I want to bring to your attention the binders that we have there provided for you, the blue binders. So in the binder, you will find a table of contents to include a copy of the budget calendar. You will also see the presentation under tab 1 that we are going to provide for you today. And then you should have some documents that are tabbed with a yellow tab that we're going to refer to. We tried to make it as easy as possible for you today. If you look at tab 2, you will see other documents there, projected attrition savings there under tab 2. Under tab 3, you will see our projected budget for the 26-27 school year. Under tab 4, you will see the consolidated accreditation standards that we're going to refer to during this work session. Under tab 5, you will see some different scenarios that we're going to bring to your attention for cost-saving measures. And then under tab 6, you will see our staffing allocations there. Under tab 7, you will see administrative staff at the district level. And then tab 8 has the budget work session information from our meeting on March 2nd, along with the PowerPoint that was presented that night as well for your reference. So we wanted you to have all of this information so that you could follow along as we present tonight, okay? So we're gonna start with our presentation, and I have 2 slides that I'm gonna go over with you, and then I'm going to turn it over to Mrs. Barrett. But on the very first slide, we're going to, let me go here, we're going to provide you an overview of the 25-26 budget, just a very brief overview. So, as you remember, to balance the 2025-2026 budget, in April, we withdrew about $2.1 million from the fund balance, okay? All right, so let me tell you where I am now. So if you would look at the presentation that I'm doing now is under tab 1, okay? All right. So if you remember, we withdrew about $2.1 million from the fund balance. And if you would go under the yellow tabs, you will see this is the information that you were provided at that particular time. These were some of the positions that we kept at that time because you approved those positions. Now, some of those positions later we did lose, but because of the positions that you see, we had to take $2.1 million from our fund balance, okay? All right, and then we received a millage increase from the county, and that was approximately $699,000 that we received from the county. And because we had a loss of enrollment on the 45th day of this school year, we then lost about $1.7 million due to our ADM, our average daily membership. And if you remember, at the last school board meeting, Ms. Varn presented to you an explanation of how ADM is calculated, okay? And then that brings us to having about a $3.8 million shortfall in the 25-26 school year. Okay? All right, the next slide. How However, through our attrition efforts, which we have been talking to you about, since last year, we started, making decisions about positions that we could dissolve if persons resigned or they didn't sign their contract. And from those efforts, we've saved $1.1 million. And that helped our shortfall because it could have been even more. We could have had a upward of $5 million shortfall, but because of the work we did in saving that $1.1 million, that helped us a lot. So if you go back to the yellow tab, and if you look at the second sheet, you will see a sheet that says fiscal year 25-26 district savings through attrition. And that shows you all of the positions that we did not replace and that we saved through our attrition efforts, which totaled $1.1 million. Okay? So I wanted to just walk you through what we've done in the past because I think that it's very important for you to see where we came from so that as we now move into the 2026-2027 budget year, you can understand that this year has been a struggle. And we are going into the 26-27 budget year with a shortfall as well because of declining enrollment, because of declining state revenue. And Ms. Barrett is now going to come up and give you an explanation of that. Ms. Barrett?
Thank you, Ms. Williams. Ms. Williams? Okay. Good evening, board members, and good evening to audience. I just want to go over to a projection that we have from the House Ways and Means Commission. They sent us their budget, so we know what funds are we going to be getting from the state. So I just want to show you where we are with those projections, and they are just a projection. And the key focus that we have that was based on the House and Means budget was about the teacher's minimum salary, the health insurance funding, the state aid of the classroom, and the career and technical education allocation. Those were the main thing that the budget focused on. And our budget is based a lot on the rated pupil units. And what is rated pupil units? They are how the state determine district funding. Funding based on student needs, not just on enrollment. How it works. Each student starts with a base weight of 1, like all the general fund students have a base weight of 1. And then you have additional weights that apply for students with greater needs, such as low income and poverty, special education, English learners, and gifted and talent. We get a different weighted that's extra for those category of students that we serve. Rated pupil units ensure that the funding reflects the resources students actually need to succeed. And rather than simply counting heads, it's all about what's the student really need to. That's why it's based on a weighted unit, and it's also, our funding is based on that. So with that being said, when the state formulated our budget, everything was did on a weighted pupil unit. So our budget is based on our 45-day allocation of our ADM. And as you remember, we lost students during our 145-day ADM. So our budget came for 26-27 with that shortfall in mind, and it was formulated based on that 45-day budget that we had.
Ms. Barrett, what was, pardon me, do you mind if I ask what our 45-day count was for Collin County School District in 26?
That's what the 45-day we just had in yes.
I mean, in 25, I guess. So in the 25, 26, what was our 45-day count?
How many students you mean?
Yeah, that's our ADM, right?
Yes, the ADM, I don't remember exactly how much the ADM count was, but I can get that information to
Okay.
you. But the fiscal year 27 projection are based on the 26 45-day enrollment count, which form the initial basis for calculating the weighted pupil unit and projecting funding. Connection to the funding is the state assign a dollar value for each of the per unit for the classroom. And really the key takeaway is the average daily membership is the foundation, and funding starts with student counts, then weighted applied based on student needs. So we get our ADM, but it also has to do with our weighted pupil units, which is how we get our money through the state aid, the classroom, based on that units. So. And one of the other things that was addressed in the budget for the House was the state minimum salary. We know that we must meet the state minimum salary. We cannot pay our teachers below the state minimum salary. The minimum salary increase now from $48,500 to $50,500. Okay, the teacher sale this year is different. Every sale has to be increased this year. In previous years, it was not necessary every sale. It was based on a formula that the state had. But this year, we have to increase every teacher sale by that $2,000. And of course, the step increase is reflected in our 27 budget projection. And the funding structure is that the state give us 75% of that fund, of the $2,000, and then we have to pay from our local fund 25% of that $2,000. Any question? Yes, sir.
As far as the teacher sales go, I know that the state has cut out the sale for bachelor's plus 18. Are we still paying that difference?
We grandfather them in, and we still paying them until they leave.
Okay.
Yeah, we're going to still take care of those for our teachers.
And Ms. Barrett, this might be a number that is in our projections later on, but I'm interested in knowing at some point the number of certified staff we have now, and how much that $2,000 increase, what that number is.
Okay.
And then from there, I want to break down to what is the local component? You know, how much are we in need of? From
To pay for that?
Right.
Okay. Okay, and another thing that the state did, and they said is supposed to help us, is the great flexibility in health insurance. One time, health insurance used to be allocated to us based on not weighted people unit, but just the allocation that they gave us based on our teachers and how many teachers we have that we have in our district. So what the state did, they're saying that now you can take that health insurance money, and we're going to put it in the state aid, the classroom, and you can use that money however you want to. We're not going to put it in that formula. But the thing with that is that because the state aid, the classroom, is based on how many students we got, so if we lose students, we're going to lose money. So that means we're going to lose funding for our health insurance too. When they had it before, we did not lose money based on our student count. But now, the way they put it, we will be losing based on our student accounts. And another change that they did, which is really was good, is the career and technical education funding. We still have the salaries for the base students of the one, it's still in the state aid, the classroom, but we had a .2, which was an extra unit that they were giving us, but it was part of the state aid, the classroom. They pulled that out and they put it into another fund, the CTE's fund, and now it's separated on a separate line item into Fund 329, which is the EIA fund. So now we got more money for that funding source. So that helped the district a lot to have that extra funding. And then our proposed revenue. When you look at the revenue, On 27, we projected to get $57.1 million in revenue. In 26, we had projected to get $5.8 million in revenue. We had a change of a negative $931,000. So we lost $931,000 in our revenue. And the key changes was by the local revenue. We had, of course, an increase of $403,000, and that's based on basically our millage increase that we had, so we got more money from our local revenue. But as you look at our state revenue, we did have an increase from our residential Tier 3 exemption of $302,000. We had a decrease in our health insurance from $777,000, and you know where they put it? In the State of the Classroom. But if you look at our State of the Classroom for the general fund and the EIA, we have a combined loss of $838,000. So we lost money from there. And our retiree insurance, we had a loss of $21,000 from our retiree insurance. So the state loss for us for this year amounted to $1.3 million.
Ms. Barrett, can I ask a quick question?
Yes, sir.
You said the key changes by source, the local revenue, that was because of the millage increase? Mm-hmm. How come that doesn't match the amount of the millage increase?
The matched amount that,
Yeah, so on here it says the local revenue, we added $403,000, but the 3 mil increase from the county was $699,711.
that was just a projection that was. It's not the actual revenue collection. You could be things because of sometime, if you look at delinquent taxes, you may not get all that money all at one time. That was only a projection that we was going to get, that 677. But that number I'm giving you is based on collection data and me doing analysis on what we actually collected this year and what we actually collect last year. It's like about 8% increase in what we actually did. That was just basically a allocation based on projection, not actual revenue. Any other question with that? And you look at our salary expenses. Our salary actually went down compared to it was last year. And if you look at our allocation sheet called projected allocations by attrition, if you look at that sheet, you see that by these attrition, we have saved from the general fund. Y'all have this sheet? Okay. $1.3 million. These are positions that we took from the general fund and
Tab 2.
tab 2.
Tab 2.
And we was able to save out of those positions $1.3 million. And then if you look at the other savings that we had, we was able to take a position out of the general fund and put it in the federal revenue, not supplanting, but we was able to do that. And then for CTE funds, with that new fund, we were able to take 4 positions out of the general fund and pay for it out of that new revenue. So we have a total savings through attrition and through various allocation of funds of $1.8 million. And even though we have decreases in our salary, it's not going to be exactly the 1.8 because there's a net. Because you have expenses like the $2,000, you have other expenses, so we sort of net out that amount of money. It's not going to be the exact 1.8 million because it's a net of various things. So what do we have in this budget? In this budget, we have a teacher compensation for $2,000. We have classified employees are getting a step in a cost of living adjustment. The administrators are getting a step in a cost of living adjustments. And we have the strategic recruiting initiative of $200,000 to help HR with recruitive initiatives in the budget. And basically, that's all we have in the budget right now. And the key takeaway is that we are, the funds is based on the 45-day enrollment, and the rated pupil unit changes in student counts directly affects the budget all the time, and declining state revenue increases pressure on the local budget. Salaries and compensation, the teacher's minimum salary increases in step also increases the budget. The COLA increase that we give for our classify and our others, classify and administrators get the COLA, that also increases the budget. Health insurance also because of the way that they're doing it now, it has made our budget short without health insurance. And also because of the rise in funds with expenses with health insurance, it has also increased our budget because of that. And even though we had a $1.8 million savings through salaries and reallocation of funds, we are still short of $1.4 million from balancing our budget. Had we not done the $1.8 million, we would have been the $1.8 million plus the $1.4 million, we would have been short in our budget. But because of these savings that we had, we are $1.4 million short from balancing our budget. Any questions?
The $2,000 across every cell, is that for all certified or is that only for teachers?
It's for mostly the teachers. It's for the teachers. But yes. And the state, of course, like we said, give us money for them, 75% of that $2,000. And Ms. Rickens, I'll get that number for you.
And the cost of living increases what percentage?
The cost of living is normally like a 2% COLA.
If I may just clarify Mr. Irwin's point, and that is, so certified staff include, you're only including teaching staff, and so administrators are under a different step.
Administrators, even though they are certified, the state do not look at them to give us anything for them. We pay them 100% out of the general fund. Yeah, they don't look at, they have certain codes that they pay by, you know, like a code 3, 6, whatever, and those are the only code that are paid through the state. Now, your principals, assistant principals, even though they're certified staff, we do not get any funds from the state for them.
Okay, so I guess the number that I was requesting, the number of then teachers
okay.
that, you know, with the required $2,000 increase from the state, and then of course 75% of that is covered by state funding, and the percentage of the
25% is the local.
times the number of
Yeah.
teaching staff.
Yes. Any other questions? Yes?
45-day count, 2025, 4,188 students. 4,188.
And do we have the 135 that we just did as well?
It's not released yet.
Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Williams. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Barrett.
All right, thank you, Ms. Barrett. Board members, if you would now, in your binders that you have, if you would please turn to tab 4 in your binders. And there's just some information that we want to share with you before we get into some scenarios that we have developed. So if you look at tab 4, and if you would turn to page 2 in that document, the name of the document is the Consolidated Accreditation Standards for the 25-26 school year. And if you would turn over and look at page 2, and we have highlighted what we really need you to look at. It says principals and directors. It's under E and F, principals and directors, and it basically gives you the ratio of properly certified principals for the number of students in their school. And then if you look at F, it does the same thing for assistant principals. So if you would just take a few minutes, because I don't want to insult your intelligence and read all of that. So if you would just take a moment to look over it, and then if you have any questions, then me or a member of the staff will be happy to answer.
Superintendent Williams, as we're looking at this and we're looking at these ratios, do we have a table that shows us what the student counts are at each location?
We do. I have that information for you. We didn't make a copy of it for your binder, but I do have it. So if you would like, you can ask me any school and I can give you their total enrollment.
Okay.
Okay?
Is that, can I take a picture?
Sure.
No, after we.
And this is as of
Okay, thank you.
Okay, board members, do you have any questions concerning E and F? So basically, and I'm not going to read the whole thing, but it tells you that for elementary schools with an enrollment of fewer than 375 students, they must be staffed with at least a part-time properly certified principal. That's the state guideline. Middle schools with fewer than 250 enrolled must be staffed with at least a half-time properly certified principal. And then F talks about the assistant principal. Okay, if you would turn over now to page, give me a minute. 16, okay. Turn over to page 16, and this gives you the teacher class loads for each grade level. So on page 16, number 1, it gives you the class loads for early childhood and elementary school for grades pre-K through 5. And then if you look at page 17, it gives you the class loads for middle school, grades 6 through 8. Okay. And then if you turn over to page 18, it gives you the high school for grades 9 through 12. So basically, in a nutshell, for elementary, there must be a ratio for grades K through 3 of 30 to 1. That's the state ratio. For middle school, grade 6 is 30 to 1. Grade 7 through 8 is 35 to 1. And then if you go look over to page 18, high school grades 9 through 12 is 30, where is that one?
35. for the-
35. 35
Unless
to
it's-
1.
Unless it's PE or music.
Right. Okay. Do you have any questions concerning the ratios?
I do, but I don't want to ask anything inappropriate. Can I ask a question about page 2 based on the sheet I just took a picture of? Would that be appropriate? Based on our attendance counts for each school, our staffing?
Yes, sir. It could be because we have another staffing sheet within this binder that will probably answer what you're going to ask.
Okay.
But we're going to get to, and if we do not, then please feel free to ask your question. But
Me to remember that.
yeah. But I'm pretty sure that when we get to that staffing sheet, you'll see the answer to your question.
Yes,
But I just want to let you know what our district's ratios are right now. So for pre-K, our ratio is 20 to 1. For kindergarten, it's 25 to 1. For first through second grade, it's 20 to 1. And then for 9th through 12th grade, is 30 to 1.
So I'm sorry, the 20 to 1 ratio was for grades,
First and second grade.
and the second after that?
And then, I think I left one out.
Yeah, I got first.
Third, yes, I left out third through 8th grade. No, 3rd through 5th grade. Correct me if I'm wrong. 3rd through 8th grade is 25 to 1.
Okay, and then 9 to 12 is 30.
That's correct.
And in our kindergarten, all kindergarten classes have both a teacher and a paraprofessional.
That's correct. Okay? Any other questions concerning the accreditation standards as far as the state ratios are concerned or our ratios in Colleton? Okay? All right, now, if you would, we're going to turn over to some scenarios that we have developed as cost-saving measures for you to consider. And those are in, let's see, where did I put those?
While you're looking, can I ask an HR question? Do our pre-K classes also have a peer professional? Yes. So, pre-K and K, all classes have currently a peer professional? Yes. Thank you.
Okay? All right, if you look at tab 5, turn over to tab 5, yes. All right, so in this particular tab, we have outlined several different scenarios for your review. And like Mr. Irvin, I'm going to point out the information, the bottom line, but the information that's in the document, we want you to just kind of look at that, but I'll point out the bottom line, okay? All right, so if you look at scenario A, it says all schools teaching staff to state ratios. Is everybody with me? Section 5.
Sorry, what scenario?
It says scenario A. And it says all schools teaching staff to state ratios. Okay, if we implemented this, because you remember I showed you the state's ratios and then I told you what ours is. If we implemented this that you see on that document, then we would see a savings of $754,776.08. So approximately $754,000. Okay.
That would be if we eliminated that number that's under position in total. If we eliminated that number of teaching positions, then that would be the same.
That's correct.
Gotcha. Okay.
That's
Thank you.
correct. Okay, any other questions about that scenario?
And that is strictly by going by the state's recommended teacher to student ratio.
Strictly.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Okay, if we go to scenario B. Sorry about that. If we go to scenario B, and it says CCMS and CCHS teaching staff to state ratios. If you look at the bottom line, that's the savings that we would realize, $310,000. And as Mr. Irwin asked, you'll see a total and you'll see a number there that tells you the total number of teaching staff. Okay?
Just a question, because of our reconfiguration with CCMS staff, are you identifying, that number is based on just 7th and 8th grade?
So who did that?
You said yes, Ms. Hamilton?
Okay. Any other questions concerning scenario B? All right, let's turn over to scenario C.
Ms. Williams, can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
Just based on that. All of our current 6th grade teachers that we have now, we're pushing all of those to the individual elementary schools?
Not necessarily be a 6th grade teacher.
Okay, okay. But will we need additional teachers at any of our elementary schools to cover the 6th grade?
Yes, 2.
Okay,
Yes. That's not true.
okay. And so, I don't want to get too confusing, but so in what we have as kind of like cutting some of these positions, have we factored that in or no? So like, for instance, on this other sheet that we saw with the elementary teachers, those numbers, is that the actual number, or will the actual number be two less than that because we'll take two of those and fill the positions that we need?
Yes, so I think I'm gonna follow your question. So if a decision was made to
Yes.
yes, I have a scenario where we can push teachers.
Thank you.
All right, let's look at scenario C. And scenario C basically is just the high school. Just the high school. And you'll see the total number of positions, and then that bottom line savings would be $177,000. Okay? If we go to scenario D, if you remember, we looked at all of the state ratios when it comes to administrative staff. So this is the state ratio when it comes to assistant principals. Scenario D, we would save $559,000.
If we got rid of those.
Yes, sir. If we went to the state ratios.
Okay, so based on the document that we looked at a minute ago that had the ratios, am I correct that it says an elementary school only gets an AP if they have over 500 students?
That's correct.
Okay, but according to the chart, we don't have a single elementary school that has that many students.
That's correct.
Okay, but that is not reflected on this piece of paper,
On which sheet of paper?
the scenario D.
Well,
There's only one elementary school listed on scenario D.
okay.
Are you with me?
Yeah, I am with you, and I see that now. We have Cottageville, but then we have the middle school and the high school. So we don't have,
We didn't catch that today, but
yeah,
It should have been all
you're
of them.
right. It should have been all,
So that number
would be
will be
greater.
different.
It would be greater.
Greater.
Yes, sir, you're right. Thank you for catching that.
But now, does that take into account the addition of the sixth grade? Will
Say
that
that
then bring
again.
them to that, bring them up to that number so that they would need the APs?
Well, I guess we would have to know how many of the
No.
sixth graders are going to each location. I don't think any of our schools, I mean, the largest of our schools would have to add 64 sixth graders to the one school in order to put it at that threshold.
Yeah, I think the largest enrollment would be either Northside or Forest Hills. And it would take them up, I think for Forest Hills, they would have approximately a little over 500 students. And then for Northside, it would be about the same or maybe just a little less. But I do know that we did that. We just don't have that document with us. Linda, you know the document I'm talking about, right? Do you have it in your email that we could access it and get that information for them now?
Actually, let's see, where did I put it?
Yes, we did take that in consideration with having sixth grade into the number, because we said that Forest Hills and Northside may keep their
Correct.
assistant principals, so.
Okay,
we
so
did.
maybe that's
But
why we
that's
said.
not reflected on these numbers.
Exactly.
That's right, that's right.
We did have that discussion.
Yes, we did have the discussion. And that is why Northside and Forest Hills is not listed here. But Bell should be listed there, and Hendersonville should be listed there. That's right.
So at some point, Ms. Williams, can we get this same chart with the numbers? Can we get it with the projected sixth graders added in?
We can't, did you do this with the sixth graders, like when you did, no, you mean for the elementary?
Yes.
Gotcha. Yes, sir.
We can get
Yes,
that updated.
yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Then the funding source at the bottom that says 100% local fund.
So that means that all of these positions are paid through the general fund.
So you got that, right?
Does that
So
answer your question?
They do receive some state funding. None.
no.
None. They're 100% locally funded.
100% local.
But that's only teachers receive?
Only teachers, right,
and-
not administrators.
Okay. I thought, it's just my misunderstanding that the increase didn't come from the state, but we received no state funding for our any administrators.
None.
Thank you very much.
So that would also be true for all district office personnel? We don't receive any?
Nothing.
Okay. Ms. Williams, if I can, just one more question about scenario D. Can you tell me just very quickly, because I don't want to say anything, I just want to do math in my head. What is our current AP number at the middle school and the high school? Are they both 4?
So at the high school, it is 4, because there's one for every grade level. At the middle school, it's 3.
Okay,
At this current time, it's 3.
okay. Okay. And so this protection for the middle school does or does not take into account moving all of the 6th graders out?
It does.
It does, okay.
It does.
Thank you.
Got it last week. You did. There we go. Got it.
Okay. All right. We turn to scenario E. Okay, good. Thank you, Linda. All right, I'm going to give you these numbers first. These are projected numbers. This is with 6th grade added to the schools, okay?
Yeah, hang on one second. All right.
All right.
So you're going to give us each elementary?
But
gonna
can we
give
just
you
get a
each-
total? Can we just get a total?
I just take a picture of it if I don't want to copy all of
You
it.
just want to take a picture of it?
Yeah, I do.
Sure.
I don't want to copy all of it.
You can go ahead. I got it.
Let me get mine on.
Thank you.
Stop it.
Save your voice.
Stop it.
I don't want to reach over your head, but can I reach over your head?
As long as you don't let that glare get to
As
you.
long as you don't reach over his head.
Good.
Yeah.
I just want to give him a hug. Thank you.
I thought you were hoping for enhancement.
Oh,
To shine,
That's
to
good
shine
lighting.
through.
I thought you just, it was this.
Good lighting.
It's
No.
the total showing
yeah.
they don't need assistance or something.
Now, I just want to say that when we did this, I think this was maybe about a week or 2 ago. So I want you to know numbers do fluctuate, okay? I think that was done last week or week before last. So numbers do fluctuate. Okay, if you look at scenario E in your binder, scenario E. So listen, so I want you to know that we do listen, and you know, some of these suggestions were given in our session last week. So as you can see, if we did a 5% reduction in salaries, that this would be the total amount that we would save. So at the district level, if we did a 5% reduction, we would save $138,000. At the school level, administrative level for the principal, 5%, we would save $65,000. If we did 5% for assistant principals, we would save $62,000, and then that total is for all. Yes, sir.
The 5% for the APs,
Uh-huh.
which AP number is that accounting for? The current or the one based on the previous sheet?
That's for all.
All
That's for
APs.
all APs.
All APs.
So that would be based on the current number of APs.
Right, the
The
current
current
number
number
of
of APs.
So
yes.
if we institute the previous page, that number
Will
would be
decrease.
significantly less or
That's
less.
correct.
Right.
That's
Okay.
correct.
Okay.
Okay, and then if you look down where it says reduce budget by 10%, this is reducing the materials, supplies, all of the budgets that we that our schools and our departments have in order to run efficiently. So if we reduce those by 10%, you will see the number and the amount we would save.
Superintendent Williams, if we were to look at scenario D, might there still be certified positions that they would be able to be placed in?
There
Possibly.
could be. You know,
But
I
that
know-
would eliminate the savings.
well, that's true.
No, I said like a teacher's line. They're funded by the state, and they would still be part of our family. Just wondering if, I didn't know how the open ends are falling.
Well, I guess if there's a situation where you have a teacher who is the AP part-time, or part of their day is assistant principal, then if they took away that assistant principalship, then they would just go down to the regular teacher's salary.
Yeah, there could be savings that way. Now, I just want you to know, these are scenarios, okay?
right.
So you'll have, you know, just for your information. As a former principal, I wouldn't be able to operate my school efficiently. But I just want to let you know that these are scenarios for you to look at, so you'll see what those bottom line numbers are. Okay? All right, and I think the last scenario we have for you is scenario F. And this particular scenario is cost savings through programs and positions. So if you look at those two lines there, the district could realize about $1 million.
Ms. Williams, can you identify the location of those, or is that?
That would be district-wide.
So is that, and all schools have those two programs?
No, not all. So the top line would be all schools,
Okay.
elementary, middle, and high.
Every school has that.
And then the second line would be middle and high. Okay? All right, so now that was the scenarios that we wanted to share with you. Okay, we have some other tabs, and other questions that you had may be answered. So if you go to tab 6, you will see the school allocations there, and I think this might answer your question, Mr. Irwin. I'm going to ask Ms. Hamilton, if she doesn't mind, if you would just kind of give an overview of what they need to look at on these school allocation sheets to give them the information they need.
I apologize for how it printed. Linda did her best to try to get it all on one sheet for you guys, but I think yours may be front and back, and I have the advantage of looking on my screen. But if you would look to the far right, where it says number of teachers added or needed, you see the CCSD ratios, the State Department ratios, and then an average. And I'm on Bells, I'm sorry. Do y'all see that? And so, for your information, I have done a CCSD ratio per grade level. So if you don't mind, I'm going to skip pre-kindergarten because it's predetermined by the State Department. We can't have more than 20, so that's a given. But if we can go to like first grade at Bells. So you will see on that line where with the CCSD ratio, given the enrollment, we would need to move a FTE from one of those grade levels, and my recommendation would be from second to first, so that it would be 2 teachers per grade level. And if we kept the CCSD ratios, it would be 17 children to 1 teacher. Y'all following me? Any questions there? If we move to the state ratio, it would be a 35 or 34 to 1. And my recommendation will be with a TA support, which would be cheaper than hiring an additional teacher. Any questions with that one? I can answer. And every school will follow that same type of pattern, and they're unique to their enrollment. But if you flip and you see a school that you want to discuss, I'll be more than happy to do that.
And this is based on projections for enrollment for next year.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Okay, give you a few moments to look through those, and if you have any questions, you can ask those questions.
And then at another point, important point of the year, the 10th day, the 10-day count matters. And so we will look at enrollment again, just to see what shifts could possibly be made.
Okay. All right, I just want to point out just a few more documents that we've placed in your binder for your information as you are, studying all of this information. I know that it's a lot, but if you would turn to tab 7. Tab 7 is basically the district administrative staff audit that we did a few months ago. And when we copied this a few months ago, when we actually talked about this in executive session, it was on like legal paper, so it didn't copy really well, but the information is there for you, so that you can get a good feel for how many district office staff we had back in 2019 as compared to what we have now. And then the next pages, you'll see it has the actual names of the employees that were in those particular positions for your information. Okay. If you look at tab 8, this information was from our board priorities work session that we had last week. And basically from what you noted on the charts that we had around the walls, basically your priority is student achievement. But we wanted to just put everything on one sheet so that you could see what your counterparts listed as their priorities and what categories they fell under. So that's just for your information. And we also placed the PowerPoint from last week in the binder right after that document as well, for you to have that information as well. I think we've covered everything in the binder. Let me make sure. Okay, so I think we need to go to tab 3 now, and I'm going to ask Ms. Barrett if you would come back up and just go line by line. Tab 3, where you have the House Ways and Means budget. Yes. Tab 3.
Do you have a question on the budget? On that, as you see the bottom line, we have the revenue that we have that came in, the state revenue, the local revenue, and then the federal. We didn't get any, but we have a total revenue there of $57,180,564. And compared to last year, we had $58,111,854. And expenditures, of course, for the salaries, they went down. And we have not done anything with any of the budget items yet within the budget line items like the supply budget or any of those budgets yet. The only thing that we did increase the budget by was $200,000, and that's, of course, we said with human resources, that's initiative for retention. And as you can see, we have a deficit of $1,473,000 and some change. 1.4 million dollar deficit.
So the instructional staff does not have the cell increases?
The instructional
Yeah,
salaries?
yeah.
Uh-huh.
It does have the cell increases in the state
Everything, yes. When you talk about the instructional salary, it has a reduction because we have done stuff through savings. But it does has everything. Everything is in this budget.
Okay,
Everything. 2% cost of living,
okay.
everything.
So it does not include all of these scenarios?
It does not include any
None
of the
that,
scenarios.
But it doesn't include
Right.
everything that the state
This
has
is right,
required us to
and those
do.
scenarios is in the budget.
Thank you.
So board members, basically, that is the information that we had to present to you tonight. We hope that it was helpful as we're thinking about, what are some things that we can do to save money for our district. I know that, tonight was not a night that we actually voted, but we do need to have some type of consensus from the board soon so that we will know how to move forward if the board is going to consider any of the scenarios that we presented. We need to kind of know that as soon as possible. But tonight was just to present the information to you, present cost-saving measures that we could enact, and then have you take that information, look at it. You're welcome to take your binders with you. We were supposed to put your names on them, but I think we forgot to tell Linda, put the names. But anyway, they belong to you. The budget calendar is there. And the next work session, let's see. So the next budget update with the first reading of draft 1 is scheduled for April 21st. Okay. So I just want to, because this was a team effort, I just want you to know that the team has worked diligently. And when I say diligently, every moment that we had for the past, I know it's been at least 3 or 4 weeks, we've been working diligently. And I want to thank, all of the team members for being there and doing your part. I want to thank our district's consultant for her guidance as we went through this process as well. And I want to open it up to our team members. If there's anything that I missed or that Ms. Barrett missed that was not stated, now's the time to state it to our board members before we adjourn. So, district leaders, consultant, is there anything that you all would like to leave with the board before we depart?
Could I ask a quick question back on tab 6?
Sure.
The high school, the projection for next year, I think roughly, my math, is going up 45 students. Is that based on the senior class leaving and the 8th grade class coming up? Is that what that increase is based on?
I think it is. I think it's based on projected numbers. These are projected numbers, right, Ms. Hamilton?
Well, I got my data from the Power School clerk, so yes, sir.
Okay, but on the middle school, that number is wrong because that doesn't take into effect moving 6th graders.
That's correct. That may be correct. I don't want to say that's correct, but that may be
Well,
the
because it
scenario.
shows the projection for next year for the middle school being 896, and the current number is 885. So that has to be that we didn't take out the 6th grade from that, right?
896, and what was the?
Currently, it is 885.
Yeah. My sheets were done 2 weeks ago, so that may have been 2-week data, 2-week-old data. The projections on the allocation sheet, so that sheet you have in your hand was done a few weeks ago. This was done today, is what I'm hearing.
Right. But so my question is, the projection for the middle school for next year is on our sheet in our binder is showing 896. that would be just our projection
For 7th, 8th grade. 896, oh, I don't,
No, because I'm looking at what he's saying. The current number of 7th and 8th graders is listed as basically 600 students. So,
Right.
so that's what it would probably be again
It would be
next
about
year,
600,
about
you're
600
correct,
something.
because our current 7th grade is 293, and our current 8th grade is 287. Our current 6th grade is 305. Remember the sheet that you took a picture of first, Mr. Irwin?
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at.
Yeah.
Right, so then,
2 weeks ago, we didn't have a change in sixth grade.
Right.
Change in sixth grade, that was just last week.
so there may have been an oversight on my end, but I will look. Yeah, thank you for pointing that out, Mr. Aldridge. And what is the 6th grade number? Current middle school number, and I can go ahead and update our sheets.
Current middle school is 885.
Projected, I'm sorry. 597. Thank you.
My math isn't that good.
And thank you for pointing that out. It's
No,
updated now.
I wasn't trying to point anything out. I just want to make sure that like these ratios and stuff that we're seeing are based on accurate
Yep,
moving forward.
yep.
Superintendent Williams, thank you for the details, all of the staff and the scenarios. In an effort not to have to change, personally, not to have to change class size, I did pose a question today if we could get that scenario based on in-town after we've moved 6th grade. I sent an email, and I know you probably
Oh,
didn't have a
okay, I
chance to
didn't
look
see
at
it.
it. But could we see a scenario based on the capacity study of our in-town schools now that, we have 6th grade housed
Sure, we
there?
can do that.
Just in an effort not to change class size, but also a cost reduction we could consider based on in-town classroom availability.
Okay,
It's in your email.
okay. Are there any other questions, any other concerns, or any other requests?
So we meet again next Tuesday, is that correct, for the capital projects?
So I informed the board officers today that we need to postpone that meeting. And the reason why is because today we had a meeting with all of our principals and all of our operation directors to talk about our 6th grade restructuring and what our school needs are. At this time, we do have funds in our capital projects for district-wide painting, district-wide flooring, district-wide projects. So we can utilize some of those funds now to take care of some of our smaller projects. But when it comes to larger projects that principals may have indicated that they need, such as they may need a wall built, or they need a wall taken down, or things of that nature, our buildings and grounds director needs to get quotes for those type of projects. So for us to have a meeting now, we don't have any numbers to give you. So we just need more time. District leadership needs more time to gather more information so that when we meet, it's a productive meeting and not just meeting to have a capital projects meeting. But our plans are to try to utilize the funds that you have already approved in those different areas to do some of the work that we can do to get our schools ready for the 6th grade. Then after, we get quotes out there to find out what things cost, things that we, feel that we really need to make sure that we do. So, because we want our schools to be successful. Then we'll come back and say, hey, we need to have another meeting to give you these numbers and ask your permission to utilize some of the funds that we have left over in our 25-26 capital projects fund.
And I understand, I'm hopeful that we can, the focus can be, and of course, that's not necessarily board approved, just the general fund, but, as far as capital projects for next year, I just want to make sure that's on the horizon. If we cancel next Tuesday or postpone next Tuesday, that we do eventually get that date scheduled before the 1st of June.
Yes, ma'am, we will. And, you know, it's a process. I mean, we met with the principals today. We've met, I know Dr. Jenkins met with them last week. I mean, it's been a series of meetings and gathering needs. And we're working on a timeline
Okay.
to get different things done that need to be done before the beginning of the school year. So, yes, ma'am, we will come back to you when we're properly prepared and ready to give you a number and say, hey, this is how much we need to ask you for to make sure our schools are ready for adding the 6th grade to the elementary schools.
And that's one thing, but I'm also looking at next year's capital projects and prioritizing those.
Yes.
Okay.
And I can tell you that, you know, I did talk to Mr. Simpson, and he does have some needs that are not related to the 6th grade restructuring as well.
As
So
does the board have priorities that we need to make sure are presented in the capital projects for next year?
That's correct.
Okay. And thank you for clarifying that for our timely meeting needs. So what are next steps? Are we going to get, Ms. Williams, a suggestion or a recommendation from administration on which one of these scenarios might be for board consideration prior to the April 21st first reading?
Yes. We want you to look at it now and just kind of digest. And yes, we will give you a recommendation.
Okay. You know, there's not an element of discussion here right now because I think we are still all marinating on it.
Yes,
There's a
ma'am.
lot to sink
It's a lot.
in. Yes.
It is.
And so I appreciate that, but I'm hopeful to hear the thoughts of the administration, current and incoming, but also, you know, what other board members are thinking, because that's a lot of information to consider. And, you know, I don't want to be looking at each other on the day of the vote and
Right.
not be sure. So I just want to make sure we have enough prep time, and we have spring break coming up. So
Yes, we do.
I just want to hear what people are thinking.
And also, Ms. Whitkin, in my mind, as you're saying that, and you're absolutely correct, in my mind, I'm thinking, you know, maybe after spring break that we have, and I know it's hard to get everybody to come into small group meetings, but I really think that we need to have some discussions before the April 21st meeting to see where we are. And I think we can do that through small group meetings as well.
I just want to share my availability, but also, you know, because of spring break, I just think we need to really get on the calendar because everyone is going to be in different directions.
Most definitely.
I just want to say, just in response to that, I really think this needs to be a full board discussion, not small groups, because each board member needs to know what the other board member is kind of thinking and stuff. So I just think we should look at that. I just want to clarify something real quick so I have full amount of information. On tab number 2, projected attrition savings for fiscal year 26-27. Are those projected or are those people already gone now so we know that we're saving that?
Yeah.
Those people are already gone now?
It should,
And
yeah.
so we just know we're not rehiring?
Correct.
So based on that, I have 2 questions, and I hope they are taken in the spirit of, we just want to make sure the board has full amount of information. In all of these scenarios, I don't see any scenarios that include reduction in classified personnel. For instance, if we are moving a whole grade level out of the middle school, does that free up a janitor or a food service worker or any of those things? And then the second thing is I have seen scenarios for all of our teachers and all of our admin. I haven't seen any scenario for district office staff reduction. So just so we have a full picture and this isn't just focused at the school level, if we could get those 2 bits of information before our meeting as well.
Got you. And I do just want to point your attention that we do have district office staff when we had the 5% reduction that is in your packet as well.
Correct, but that's a 5% salary reduction, not
Yes.
a position reduction. Whereas everything that we've looked at for the school level and the administrative level has been possible position reductions.
Gotcha. Understood.
Just to clarify that question, when we're looking at the projected attrition for 26, 27, there are 2 district office listed there. Are those new or?
Well, I think they said those are positions that are already gone.
Well, that is for, those decisions have already been made, put it that way, for next year. Those decisions have already been made. So you're correct, Ms. Strobel. We have already made decisions for reduction at the district office level for next year.
Any other questions?
Okay. Any additional questions? All right. Thank you so much for your patience, and thank you for your questions. I really think that this was a very good, productive meeting. So thank you all so much. And we look forward to seeing you. I think it's Monday. We have a policy committee meeting at 5 o'clock on Monday. Okay.
All right, and
All right.
And again, thank you for all of this information. I have some bedtime reading now that I can look at. And policy committee meeting is at 5 o'clock on Monday, and there have been some changes in the policy committee. So Mr. Cunningham will be joining the committee starting next week as well.
Okay.
So,
All right. Thank you for that.
all right. Is there any other discussion, any other questions, any other?
And also just want to make sure all board members are aware that the band spring concert is tomorrow evening, not Thursday. It's tomorrow evening. Okay?
And that's at
that
what
was
time?
it.
6:30? Okay.
I think it's 6 o'clock. I think it's 6 o'clock.
I'll look at the email, I'm sure. Okay.
All right. That ends my report.
All
Chair
right.
Nixon.
If there is no other discussion, I'll entertain a motion that we adjourn. Any? Nobody?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to adjourn.
But say nobody wants to leave? Okay. It has been moved
Second.
and properly seconded that we adjourn. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Have a good evening. Thank you.